Hello everybody, welcome to episode 27 from City Skylines, the Aurelia City series. A quick recap first of the previous episode from last week. We built the residential bridge together with some high density areas right underneath it on this side of the river, and we still need to finish it on the other side of the river, but not before we actually move there with the city expansion, so it might take some time. Anyway, this place around the bridge was somewhat disconnected from the rest of the city, which is something we will change in today's episode. We have this long stretch of land between the bridge area and the main interchange that I would like to fill today. It's mostly going to follow the same style of building we used underneath the bridge, but I will also start something quite different, another project that is probably going to be a bit more interesting, a bit more green. So let's go. Okay, so at first we're going to start with that green project. Well, not really entirely, but we're going to do a little start of it. So this entire place is going to be very gray again, just like with the bridge. I really wanted to make it not all that green, but make some kind of a different project on top of it to kind of cover the to cover the gray with something green. So that's exactly what I'm trying to build right here by doing just this border. Again, I'm using the railing. That's part of the railroad or railway mod. I'm not sure what it's called, but it's absolutely great. I've been using it for the stairs in some past episodes. You probably remember that. So that was just an outline of something that we are going to be building today as well. But we're not going to finish it today. We are going to keep it for the next episode, probably. Now back with the bridge area, I guess, with the buildings that we built underneath the bridge. We obviously need to continue expanding this area as well. So I really wanted to just put some not all that super interesting buildings, maybe with just a couple of bigger Rico buildings, just like with this one. It's something like a law building. Not sure if it's like a school or something, but it's kind of nice there because, again, it has the angle side, which is really great. I really like using buildings that don't have 90-degree corners because it just makes the blocks more interesting, obviously, because it just breaks the overall blockiness of this place. I guess you can call it that way. Anyway, trying to just fill these blocks with the rest of the buildings that I have at my disposal, kind of using buildings that I already used in different places because obviously you don't have that many, so you can't really make all the blocks super unique, but they kind of make up for it by just making all different combinations of the buildings and obviously clipping the buildings together to create completely different buildings from the buildings that you already have, which is obviously impossible if you don't use any kinds of anarchy mods or move it, just like I'm doing right here. Now, this is not really all that super interesting, but that's kind of the point of this place, because just like with the bridge area, I was talking about the fact that I want to create some kind of a bigger project that's going to be kind of emphasized by the surrounding areas not being all that super interesting. So that's exactly what I'm trying to do in here as well, because this place is just going to be like a fill. I'm not trying to make it all that bad in terms of no detailing or something. This place is going to be detailed, and the buildings are not really all that repetitively built in one style or something like that. But I'm definitely trying to just finish this rather quickly so I can move on to different projects. It might not look like I'm trying to finish it that quickly, but that's just how I do things, right? So this place down here is pretty much going to be a mix of mostly residential buildings. I know that it's kind of closer to the highway and the railroad and all that, but close to right next to the highway, I am trying to put some office buildings or something like that. I'm later going to put even like a warehouse building or something like that. But in here, right next to the river, we are making some residential buildings because I still need to increase the population of the city quite a lot, because we still need to have pretty much around 45,000 people in the city in order to fill all the jobs that we created with the offices in the downtown and obviously the industrial zone as well. And it's kind of clear that I'm not going to build just residential buildings from now on. we obviously need to do offices as well. So the available jobs are always increasing, and we definitely need to keep up with the residential buildings as well. Now I'm almost back to what I started with this episode, right? So this is the elevated park. I suppose I can already say what it's going to be. And well, it's not really looking like a park yet. It's just the border, the outline that I created at the start of the episode. But I think I can already spoil that it is going to be a park. Now, in this place in particular, there is going to be this very tall office building. And it's going to start on the surface level, on the level with the main avenue road, and it's going to kind of cut into the park from the bottom, right? It also has, well, the building consists of main two like towers, and the base contains a parking lot like this one. And it's kind of looking really nice, and I thought it's going to be a good idea that this elevated place is going to have like a little hole inside so that the parking lot underneath it can be visible. There's obviously going to be glass, so it's going to be looking kind of all right, kind of interesting. So we are almost creating the basic surface in here. But at first we need to do some kind of an outline. The railing is not enough. I really wanted to put some kind of a path. And again, I'm using this Park Life path in here because it's looking really great. I'm using the surface variant because the elevated one is going to have the railing, which is something that I don't want, and it's also a bit not that interesting in terms of the surface. This one has the red bricks, which is something that I really want to have here. So I'm using the surface variant, but of course it's a bit more problematic because it is not on the surface, right? Now we are finally putting the procedural object grass in here, so it finally looks like one continuous surface. And it's going to become quite more clear how this place is going to look like and what the general idea for this place is going to be. Now, the basic idea, the original idea for this place kind of came from what we did in the previous episode with the residential bridge, because I also used the procedural object grass on top of it. I didn't use any kind of pavement or something, or gravel, let's say, but grass to make it more green in the overall area. Because like I said in the previous episode, we did the area underneath the bridge very gray, very monotone kind of, and we kind of made it brighter, let's say, with the grass on top of that bridge in that diverging area on the side of the bridge. And for this episode, for this place, I really wanted to continue with that idea, just without the bridge, right? So this is pretty much like a lily pad shape, let's call it, which is just covering the first level, the surface level of buildings, and the first layer that's built on the surface. And we might maybe think about it, maybe the buildings on the surface were built some time ago already, and I don't know, the local authorities wanted to create some kind of a park, but there was obviously no space left anymore because we are in almost the downtown in the city, so they decided to maybe just cover the entire place with like an elevated park of some sort, right? And obviously the buildings that got completely covered might probably have been a bit repurposed. Probably wouldn't be possible to still keep them residential or something, because people obviously wouldn't have any kind of sunlight in their houses any longer, right? So maybe people just changed the buildings underneath this park to some maybe like warehouses, or maybe some, I don't know, underground parking lots or some kind of maintenance areas or something like that, right? It's obvious that people are not living right underneath this place, or maybe they are, but on the sides, so that they at least have one wall of their buildings with windows, right? That's at least like a basic explanation of like a working principle of this place, right? And obviously the added benefit of this is that everyone can just easily go up to this park and obviously enjoy the view of the river and all the greenery that's going to be up there. Now, speaking of the greenery up there, I'm not going to put it in there in this episode because it is not finished. It's a huge project that is definitely going to last us for a couple more episodes. Probably two, maybe one, but probably two, because we need to finish it all around, right? So that's definitely not going to happen today. Today we are only focusing on the side of the river, on the river side, let's say. But in the next episodes, we are definitely going to do some areas around it, probably heavily residential areas, right? So we can increase the population of the city like I was talking about. So this episode is mostly going to be on this side, like I said, and it's going to be kind of very important to kind of set a particular style of this place, which is probably going to be followed in the next episodes around this place as well. So we need to obviously make this place slightly more believable, like from engineering point of view. So we need to put all kinds of supports everywhere and all those kinds of things, and make it look like it could actually be built in real life, right? Even though it probably wouldn't be, but it's interesting to have it in a futuristic city like this. So why not? Now we are almost at the interchange area, the one that we built back in episode 1. And I really wanted to continue with these elevated parks. Let's call them elevated parks from now on, shall we? And I created another one. This one is going to be a lot smaller, and I don't have any plans for buildings on top of it just yet. So it's going to be just a green surface right now, but we are definitely going to make it more detailed in the future. Not right now, but we are going to do that probably in some next episodes, right? So this one is going to follow the shape of the highway loops. We are later going to put some very interesting round buildings inside those loops, and this park, this part of the park, I guess, is going to copy the shapes of those buildings quite nicely. And obviously, in the future episodes, we are going to put some, maybe, I don't know, sculptures in there, or some kind of buildings, let's say, or some entrance points on top of it. I'm not exactly sure how to do that yet. And that definitely should follow the same style as well. So it's all going to be like a piece in the overall puzzle of the downtown area, right? Now, this area right here, where I was doing in the previous shot, the continuation of the bigger park, the original one, I was not really sure how to do that one because the shapes were completely different. I really wanted to put it a lot longer into the mainland, let's say, away from the river, but I was not really sure what to put on top of it because we are still in the downtown, and I got kind of carried away. I wanted to have those parks really huge, but obviously that's going to be covering a very precious ground underneath it. So I kind of cut it away a lot and changed the shapes. So I'm not really showing it in these videos because I was constantly changing that. But it's definitely going to be shown in the next episode, where I would like to go to the other side of the bigger park and do some residential areas there that are obviously going to copy the park's shape. But it's kind of difficult to do these things because on one hand you need to start somewhere. But obviously you need to start doing something so that later, whatever you're going to build later is going to fit that place. So it's kind of like an iterative process. You're going to build something and then you're going to try to make something fit to it. And if you decide that it's not going to fit, then you need to rebuild what you already did. And, you know, it's kind of a lengthy, complicated process. So I'm not really showing that too much in here because it might get a bit confusing. But hopefully it's all going to be sorted out in the future episodes, probably the next one, right? And while I was talking about that, I finished that block of buildings between these two parks, and I put a very tall building there. I think it might actually be the highest building in Aurelia right now, but I'm not so sure about that. And right now I just actually figured out that maybe I'm going to put a bit more of these parks in here, maybe smaller ones than even the second one, the smaller one that we already built, maybe on the other side of the interchange when we finally get there. It's going to be kind of a long time before we get there, but I don't know. I kind of like the idea of these parks, and maybe I'm going to do them on in different parts of the city, in different districts as well. But we will see about that, how it's going to turn out in the future. So I also put a few taller buildings in that bigger park area right next to the building that we already built. It's the same style with those blue windows. It kind of looked all right. And now we are down here on the surface again, creating some underground entrance points into probably some kind of a garage building, some kind of garage structure underneath all this. Very, very similar entrance I already did in the previous episode as well. Again, with these walls kind of going around it, creating obviously the retaining walls on the side of the road going down. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. All that's left is just some detailing. I'm not going to put any trees in this episode because, like I explained, we already created just the basic of this place, but we are going to finish it in some in some future episodes. probably the next one, at least the bigger park. And the last thing that I'm going to do is just put these round buildings, which are going to perfectly fit, by the way, into these loops so that it all looks very, very good. I definitely want to use these buildings a bit more in the future. Anyway, guys, that's almost it for today's episode. As always, there's going to be the cinematics, and I thank you for watching today's episode. I hope you liked it. If you did, then definitely consider putting a thumbs up underneath the video, and obviously if you're new here, you can always subscribe to the channel to see the next videos. Alright guys, I'm gonna see you next week with episode 28. I already mentioned what we're going to build, so take care and goodbye.